I want you to imagine, just for a second, a musical frequency that, well, by all the laws of space and time, just shouldn't exist.
Right.
Like, picture a really smoke-filled, fuzz-drenched basement in Kolkata, it's say 1966, and you have this Bengali psychedelic rock band just absolutely wailing on sitars and harmoniums.
Okay, I can picture it.
Now, take that exact sound and violently collide it with, like, a crowded, beer-soaked pub in Camden in 1995.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, where a snarling Britpop group is just tearing through a set. But here's the catch. They aren't clashing. They're playing the exact same song at the exact same time across two completely different eras.
I mean, it feels like an auditory hallucination. Just the premise alone completely messes with your sense of, musical chronology.
It really does. And that impossible collision is the focal point of today's deep dive. We are unpacking a massive, really fascinating multimedia project by a creator known simply as JJ.
Right, operating under the banner of TATANKA.
It's exactly, TATANKA. And the core of this whole universe is this sprawling 48-track, 2-hour-plus album released in July of 2026. It's titled Wondrous Revolver, or in Bengali, Aparoop Revolver.
And, the sources you brought us for this are just incredibly dense.
Yeah, they really are.
Because we aren't just looking at what this music is. We have the creator's technical notes. We have the literal AI prompts used to generate the audio, the track lists, and this profoundly moving companion short story attached to the project titled The Real My Father Buried.
Such a good story.
It is. And we are going to look at the mechanics of this world, but more importantly, why this specific blend of AI generation and deeply human storytelling actually matters.
Okay, let's unpack this, because the technical genesis of this project is, well, it's wild. JJ didn't just walk into a studio with a band to record Wondrous Revolver.
Right, no traditional recording here.
No, this entire sonic construct was birthed using a very specific, bleeding-edge stack of tools.
Yeah, the methodology is intricate. JJ didn't just rely on, one basic engine. They built this whole world using an interwoven stack of open source and AI software.
Which is so much work.
It is. They used perchance.org alongside ChatGPT and Claude.ai to shape all the text, the concepts, the image generation. And then the audio itself was generated using Google Flow Music.
Right.
And all of this was arranged using an alpha build of Audacity 4 running on a Linux Ubuntu 26.04 operating system.
See, my initial thought when reading that tech stack is just to ask why. Why go through the trouble of running an alpha build of Audacity on a really specific Ubuntu OS just to edit AI music?
Well, it comes down to control and latency, right?
Oh, sure.
When you are prompting an engine like Google Flow Music to generate 2 hours of multi-layered uncompressed audio stems, you're dealing with massive, massive data dumps.
Just gigabytes of audio.
Exactly. So Ubuntu 26.04 allows a creator to tweak the low-level audio kernel, meaning they can route and process those stems without the entire system just choking and crashing.
That makes a lot of sense.
And using an alpha build of Audacity 4 implies JJ was testing out cutting-edge multi-track separation features that, haven't hit the mainstream yet. It let them weave these wildly disparate AI stems together seamlessly.
And that level of, granular control makes perfect sense when you look at the prompt JJ actually fed into Google Flow Music.
Oh, read the prompt. It's so specific.
I have it right here. It reads, "Please generate a cinematic instrumental track that is a seamless and organic fusion of late 1960s Bengali-style Indian psychedelic music and 1990s Britpop."
Such a wild combo.
Right. It continues. "It takes the listener on a mind-blowing rock journey across time, space, and dimension. Older, trippy instrumentation, composition, and audio production meet newer and have a beautiful baby."
Have a beautiful baby.
Yeah.
That phrasing is crucial.
You think so?
Absolutely, because it instructs the algorithm on the exact relationship between the inputs. It isn't asking for a collision. It's asking for offspring.
Yeah, because my fear with prompts like this is that you just get, an audio Frankenstein.
Right, just a mess.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like a heavy Britpop drum loop with a sitar sloppily pasted on top. It's like culinary fusion where you mix two strong spices, like tabla and a Britpop backbeat that shouldn't work together, and usually it just tastes terrible. It sounds like a cheap parlor trick. Since AI music can so easily feel like a cheap mashup, how does the creator actually avoid that here?
Well, what's fascinating here is JJ's whole philosophy. Because of how Google Flow interprets organic fusion in 2026, it doesn't just layer tracks, it synthesizes them at the waveform level.
Wow.
Yeah, and JJ explicitly notes this is not a gimmick, it's not a mashup. They describe it as a wormhole.
A wormhole. I love that.
Right, exploring this continuous psychedelic sprawl. And it's designed to be played without skips, letting the first drone, quote, swallow the room. If you look at track titles like 𝗧𝗔𝗧𝗔𝗡𝗞𝗔 Supernova and Ganges Fog over Manchester, it illustrates this intense geographical and temporal collision.
So rather than layering a sitar over a drum beat, it's more like a genetic algorithm. Like,
Yeah.
it mathematically splices the DNA of a 90s Manchester snare with the frequency of a Bengali harmonium,
Yes.
creating a sound that technically belongs to neither culture, but mathematically belongs to both.
That is a much more accurate way to look at it, yeah. But,
Yeah.
releasing 48 tracks of genetically spliced AI music just wasn't enough.
Now, JJ had to go bigger.
Much bigger. Because JJ didn't just generate audio, they generated a whole human mythology to anchor it.
Which is brilliant because audio without context can sometimes just be noise.
Exactly.
And this brings us to the companion short story, The Reel My Father Buried.
Yes, the story.
For you listening, we have to talk about the opening of this story because we meet Rono. He is 26 and he's half drunk on 𝗧𝗔𝗧𝗔𝗡𝗞𝗔 from his own leaving party downstairs.
Just a great grounded image.
Very real. And he's poking around in the leaky attic of his father's flat in Camden. He is looking for a leak, but instead he finds a faded blue cotton 𝗧𝗔𝗓, which is like a traditional towel, wrapped tightly around a reel-to-reel tape recorder.
Right.
And inside are 6 spools of 1/4-inch tape. The label is handwritten and says, Kolkata Sessions, 1969, Ashok and the Moon Drone Collective. And then underlined twice in English, do not play, Baba.
Which, of course, means he has to play it.
Obviously.
So Rono strings together a playback machine from, like, a YouTube tutorial and hits play. And what comes out of the speaker is the exact audio we were just analyzing.
That wild fusion.
Yeah. He hears the low harmonium drone, the syncopated tabla, the fuzzed-out guitar bending notes with a wah pedal.
And right in the middle of it, underneath all that guitar fuzz, someone off microphone shouts, Ashokta, ekta solo dao, which translates to, Ashok, give us a solo.
I mean, imagine hearing your own father's name embedded in this vibrant, chaotic recording from decades before you were born.
It would be mind-blowing.
It completely shatters Rono's understanding of who his father actually is.
Right, and here's where it gets really interesting, because the Ashok that Rono knows is nothing like a wild 1960s psychedelic rocker.
Not at all.
Ashok is described as a strict man. He runs a modest print shop in Kentish Town. He goes to the temple twice a year. And Rono has spent his entire youth fronting loud university bands. And Ashok, his father, met every single loud moment with a wall of total suffocating quiet.
Yeah, he just sat there with his arms crossed.
Exactly. So the immediate question is, how does a wild teenager wailing on a guitar in 1969 turn into a man who uses total silence as a weapon against his own son?
And that tension drives the core of the story.
Yeah.
So we get to this pivotal kitchen confrontation.
Right.
Rono takes the tape downstairs to the kitchen where Ashok is washing dishes. It's late, like 11 o'clock at night. And Rono hits play.
The moment of truth.
Yeah. And Ashok's reaction, it isn't anger. He gets terrified. His shoulders tense up. He demands Rono turn it off.
Yeah.
And his voice is just thick with panic.
Which is so surprising. I would assume a strict father would be furious that his son went snooping in the attic.
Sure.
But if he is terrified, why keep the tape in the first place? And Rono asks him directly, like, why write do not play in English if you never wanted me to find it?
And Ashok's response is just heartbreaking. He reveals he didn't destroy the tape because he couldn't bring himself to burn it. Instead, he left it under the leak for, quote, the water to decide.
Wow. That is heavy.
It really is. And it leads to unpacking this whole tragic backstory. So in 1969, Ashok was 19, playing this fusion rock in a Kolkata basement. But Ashok's own father, Rono's dadu, was a strict school teacher.
Right.
And he viewed the guitar as colonial poison. So when he found Ashok's hidden guitar, he beat Ashok with leather chapel, a sandal hard enough to split his lip, telling him he would not shame the family with noise.
That is awful. The trauma of that single night just completely broke him. Ashok was 17. He was obedient, so he sold the guitar, he finished his degree, moved to London, and completely buried that passion.
Yeah. And if we connect this to the bigger picture, Ashok makes this tragic realization during the argument. He tells Rono, I did not understand that quiet and silence are not the same animal. I gave you the exact thing that was done to me, wearing a different coat.
Quiet and silence are not the same animal. That distinction is so profound.
It really is.
For you listening, it's like Ashok thought he was building this beautiful, safe fortress of peace for his son to grow up in. But really, he built a sensory deprivation tank.
Oh, that's a perfect analogy.
Right. Ashok wasn't judging Rono's bands out of spite all those years. He was sitting there with his arms crossed because he was in a state of terror. Rono, standing on stage with a guitar strapped to his shoulder, looked exactly like the 19-year-old boy that Ashok's own father had tried so violently to destroy.
He was looking at a ghost of himself.
Exactly.
And once that is out in the open, the narrative tracks their journey to actually heal.
Which takes them on this pilgrimage back to Kolkata.
Yeah.
6 weeks after that kitchen confrontation, father and son fly back to India for a memorial. But thematically, they're going back to close the loop on this generational wound. And they find the old basement studio off College Street.
Which is such a great detail because it isn't some preserved sacred musical shrine. It is, ironically, a mobile phone repair shop.
Yeah. Time just moved on.
It did, but the climax happens on their last night, in a rented flat, above a sweet shop.
Oh, I love the sensory details here. The flat is smelling of ghee and cardamom, and Rono unpacks this battered acoustic guitar he smuggled from London, and for the first time in 41 years, Ashok plays.
Yeah, and it's clumsy, his fingers are stiff, but the muscle memory is there. The Britpop Bengali fusion is sort of reborn right there between them.
It's beautiful.
It is. And this raises an important question about how healing actually works in storytelling.
What do you mean?
Well, the story doesn't end with a Hollywood cliche. They don't suddenly form a band and tour the world.
Right, that would feel so fake.
Exactly. Instead, when they get back to Camden, Ashok simply stops hiding the guitar. He leaves it propped up in the corner of the flat.
He lets it take up space.
Yes.
And then we get this stunning final catharsis. A year later, Rono digitizes the tapes, cleans up the audio, and sends his father a cheap portable speaker by post. And Ashok plays it. He plays his 20-year-old self's music at maximum volume in Camden, proving that, quote, some houses have been waiting a very long time to finally get loud.
It's incredible. And, the fact that Ashok reclaims his identity through digitized audio is a direct reflection of the wider platform of TATANKA that actually hosts this project.
Oh, right. Let's zoom out from the intimate story of Ashok and Rono and look at that broader TATANKA ecosystem. Because it isn't just a portfolio for JJ's music, is it?
No, not at all. If you look at the tags and links on the TATANKA site, it's a very specific mix. You find links for transgender rights sanctuaries, DEI diversity, equity, and inclusion missions, and a strong emphasis on indigenous wisdom.
And they have other massive AI projects listed there too, right?
Yeah, they call them AudAI projects. Like there's one called Resonant Raga, which is tied mathematically to Earth's 7.83 hertz heartbeat, and another called The Road to Tk'ዴᗑᗕ.
So what does this all mean? You have a creator utilizing bleeding-edge technology, alpha software, AI generators, but they pair it with ancient wisdom, like specifically quoting Latkoda Chief Sitting Bull, who said, "Let us put our minds together and see what life we can make for our children." What does this blend of extreme tech and deep humanism achieve for the listener?
Well, looking at it impartially, TATANKA seems to view AI not as a replacement for the human soul, right?
Right.
But rather as an advanced tool to execute complex human visions, whether that's advocating for global humanism, supporting Tibetan refugees, or just creating a fictional world where a father and son can heal. The AI is entirely in service of the humanity.
That completely reframes the tech for me. Definitely. Because for you listening, that is the journey we've unpacked today. We started with the cold, technical mechanics of an AI prompt. But what we found is that Wondrous Revolver isn't just an exercise in technology. It's a testament to how tech can be used to score a deeply human story about the vital difference between imposed silence and actual peace.
Absolutely. And, a final thought for everyone to sort of mull over.
Mm-hmm.
We constantly worry that artificial intelligence will strip the humanity out of heart. But if a completely machine-generated album can serve as the emotional anchor for a story about a father and son healing a 40-year-old generational trauma...
Which is just incredible.
Right. If it can do that, does the origin of the music even matter? Or is the human reaction to it the only thing that makes it real?
That is such a fascinating question to leave on. Thank you so much for bringing us along on this incredible sonic and narrative journey, and thank you all for listening. We will catch you on the next Deep Dive.